Hey Ma, look! No arms! And yet... And point that up here, and... Yeah, again, not exactly super apparent because I don't have a chronograph yet. Something I'm working on. But that's not even the entire point of this mod. In fact, the entire point of this mod was that I didn't like the crossbow arms on there. Not too many people do, because this is an absolute beautiful shell, and yet the crossbow arms kind of ruined it for me. But if you've, well, I would hope you've seen when Bay Area Nerf got their hands on the Crossbolt pretty much before anybody else, they demonstrated that you can, in fact, use the Crossbolt without having the bow arms on it, which is great. And their way of doing it was they just kind of never put the bow arms on and just wrap the cord through there and you're good to go. And some other people have done this as well. They just, drilled a hole through there and tied the string off. That worked pretty good. I wanted something a little bit cleaner. So what I did is I took my Dremel and I cut these off. And then after I cut them off, I used a sanding wheel and I spent a long time sanding that. Once I got it as flat as possible, I went over it with 100 grit sandpaper, 220 grit sandpaper, 400 grit sandpaper, 1000 grit sandpaper, and then finished it off with 1500 grit sandpaper to get that as flat and smooth as possible. And, well, if you haven't noticed, there's still a string here. It's very, very difficult to see. It blends in perfectly, and I tried to align that as best as humanly possible. And the way I got the string in there is I took a small drill bit and I drilled a hole in at an angle. And then I took a larger drill bit and I went through there again. I took the string, I cut it. I don't have measurements on what I used for the string, and I'm apologizing for that. It takes a lot of trial and error. I wasn't exactly paying attention. I just fired the thing until I had as little string as possible without it just destroying the dart. And then I melted the end off with a lighter, and I stuck it through there and guided it through with a screwdriver, and then tied it off. Which meant to get this together, I had to have the mechanism in there, which is one piece essentially, and then both halves already conjoined together. This thing is going to be a pain in the butt to take apart. And I basically have to twist the blaster shell like that in order to be able to work on anything. It's still, you can still disassemble it, but it's nowhere near as easy as it was before. Small trade-off, considering I'm getting phenomenal power out of it. Absolutely phenomenal power. I cannot be happier with that. And it looks sexy as crap. Not that crap is exactly sexy unless you're into that, but you get the point. For lack of more derogatory terms, I am very, very, very happy with how this has turned out. And if you have a problem with those bow arms, well, I had already snapped mine in there. In fact, I couldn't even figure out how to remove them. Yet, didn't have to. Again, when I was putting it back together, which was the hardest part, I had both halves of the shell twisted like this, and I had the internals sitting in there already. That way I could fit all these parts back in and get it up and running. Not exactly a mod guide or anything like that, but it's not a very difficult mod to do. And, well, I can't froth at the mouth about this enough. I've ran out of descriptive terms. In fact, I use derogatory as a descriptive term. I can't even think straight because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and yet this is the sexiest blaster I have. I am so happy because the Crossbolt had a wonderful profile before, and now it is absolutely perfect. I couldn't be happier. It could be, pump action, which I've designed how to do, and I've tested it a bit, but in order to complete it, I would have to cut right here because I need to be able to use this rail to guide everything. And I didn't exactly want to do that. And at this point, since the bow arms have been removed, it is much easier to prime. So I'm not exactly too worried about that. And it's not a very big blaster at all. You could use this as a sidearm if you wanted to. But if I keep going, I'm going to keep rambling. I just have to say, I love this blaster. If you have a Crossbolt, you have the materials, a Dremel, a cutting wheel, a sanding wheel, and various goods of sandpaper, I'm going to highly recommend that you do this. I just, oh god, yes, I love this blaster.